it's like I guess we were married. We were together for about 20 years, something like that. A little less than 20 years. And so it was really, it sort of occupied the kind of center of my, nel mezzo del camino de mi vita, as Dante says. It was sort of, I guess I was married to her. I was with her from my late 20s to my mid 40s. And so it was really kind of, and of course we had two kids, kind of a defining period, of course, in my existence. And this was a period during which I guess she was diagnosed with hereditary heart failure in hereditary cardiomyopathy in 2012. And so this was roughly 10 years after we got together. This was a disease that had killed her father when he was 31 or something like that. And so, the kind of cardiomyopathy she had was, it's the kind you want if you have cardiomyopathy, but it was still, not good, obviously. And so a lot of that relationship sort of took place under these strange conditions where it was sort of her mortality was undefined but clear, and at the same time she was supporting me in my career. And specifically, she was, for a substantial part of like the 2010s, basically she supported me while I blogged and worked on this like computer science project that was, spiraling out into God knows where. And so, in the end, sort of both of these things have succeeded to some extent. But a lot of my sort of conflict or difficulty over her was that I sort of felt her kind of pouring her life into my sort of like my projects, my purposes, my intents. And so, she wrote amazing dialogue. She was an amazing screenwriter, and she basically worked as a like tech writer in Silicon Valley, like writing like fucking manuals for like ad tech APIs, and so the like complexity of being in a situation where I'm like, I feel reasonably successful at this point. And like, this is the person who like created these successes, and she's just like not here. Is a very, very strong kind of, it has the kind of tension and complexity that should produce something that sort of deserves a very strong response. And so, the ability to sort of write this stuff and get kind of a strong emotional response to these words from people kind of means a lot to me. And I'm like, not everyone has these kinds of poetic stakes in their life. But if you have this sort of thing, yeah, that's what it's for. That level of energy, that level of tension, that level of guilt. Like, seek that out, and maybe you'll write some good poems about it. And part of the problem with our whole sort of literary infrastructure is that it relies so much on these kinds of academic experiences, and so you get this situation where incredibly bright, talented kids who've had zero life experience of any kind, of any significance, are sort of put into this situation where they're like 20, 23, 25 or whatever, and they're kind of showing people how talented they are. And they're very talented, you're at your peak of talent when you're 25, but they don't really have anything to say.
Mm-hmm.
And, as long as you have anything left of your IQ when you're in middle age and you've really worked hard at having a real life and a real existence, you should have something to say. And, so the sort of responsibility, having something to say, having this extremely complicated experience, I'm just like, I have to do this justice. And, when you have the feeling as a writer, not, oh, wow, I'm a very talented person. I have to, like, like my teachers have always told me that I'm very talented. I have to, like, sell my talent, and when you sort of go from that to, like, or like, wow, I could get really laid if I could get a poem in the New Yorker, right? Girls will be like, wow, yeah, I read your poem in the New Yorker. It was amazing. And like, when you sort of go, the difference between that and, I have something to say, whether you've been in, like, whatever super intense experience, you've been in an intense relationship, you've been in the presence of death, you've been to war or whatever. Yeah, that's sort of what should create the material for which you have to say. And if you haven't had these intense experiences, write light, cute, frivolous stuff. Don't sort of pretend, like, write what you know, write who you are. Don't sort of pretend to be something else than what you are. And if you're in a situation where basically life gives you heavy shit that's hard to deal with, like, don't forget any of it. Use it as material, because that's what it's there for. And I have no compunctions at all using that as material. I have zero compunctions of using my wife's death as material. I'm like, it is my obligation to use this as material. And, yeah, I mean, some people will actually go out and fuck up their lives in order to do this. I wouldn't recommend against that.